Students, today we are going to demonstrate to you a case of a coronal plane deformity of the lower extremity, especially the knee joint. To start with, you must familiarize with the equipment that you would need to do this job. First and foremost is a marking pen, which is universally used in all orthopedic examinations. The next three equipments which are shown here are for documentation of the magnitude of the deformity. The first and foremost is a plumb line, which is usually used by masons while constructing a wall to ensure that it is vertical. The second one is a goniometer, which gives you the angle of the deformity, which can be read directly off the instrument. And the third one is a measuring tape or a ruler, which is used to define the magnitude of the intermalleolar distance or the intercondylar distance, depending on whether we are dealing with a valgus or a varus deformity at the knee joint. So students, this is a short case which has been provided for you to examine, and you can very well see that this patient has a deformity at the knee, and it's a bilateral deformity. The deformity is a coronal plane deformity, and since the presentation of the patient is one of a knock knee deformity, it is a genu valgum deformity as far as the scientific terminology is concerned. Well, there are certain issues which need to be attended to in such a case. The first and foremost is, which you have already done, that is the identification of the deformity. The second one is to see what is the magnitude of the deformity. The third issue would be to see whether the deformity is in the femoral segment or in the tibial segment. The third issue would be to identify if there is any secondary deformity in the foot or not. And lastly, if there are any generalized other factors which may be contributing to the deformity at the knee. Well, I would like to clarify that we are all standing behind the patient for purposes of better recording of the deformity. Otherwise, the candidate is advised to be in front of the patient for better delineation of the deformity. The second point which I need to emphasize is that the patient needs to be in the standing position for quantification of the deformity, for the simple reason that apart from the bony deformity, there is likely to be a ligamentous laxity which would only come into play with the patient in the weight bearing position. So though the deformity can still be delineated in the lying down position, but the quantification needs to be done in the standing position. The second prerequisite for quantification of the deformity is that the knees should be touching each other just a little bit, not too tightly and not so lax that a piece of paper which has been put in between the two legs should fall down. So this is just to ensure that you ask the patient to hold a paper in between the two knees, and the feet should be put apart to just that level only.
One of the early method of examination includes inspection. So when we are looking at this patient, in general, we find a small cafe au lait spot at the back of the right calf muscles. A similar cafe au lait spot is present at the back of the right elbow as well as at the back of the left elbow. So once you see the cafe au lait spot, you start thinking, are we dealing with a patient who has a generalized defect? We all, most of the time, keep on thinking that cafe au lait spot is associated with generalized neurofibromatosis. Not necessarily. There are many other conditions in which generalized cafe au lait spots are present. A single spot may not be of significance. However, if the single spot is more than 5 centimeter in diameter, it is worth considering significant. When we come to smaller patches, it is generally considered, if you find more than 5 small cafe au lait spots, they are significant. In addition to neurofibromatosis, other conditions in which cafe au lait spots can be found is generalized fibrous dysplasia, polyostotic fibrous dysplasia, and sometimes even with generalized laxity of the ligaments of the body. If you look at this young boy, you can see easily that there is a hyperextension at the elbow joints. He's doing it himself. Nobody else is doing passively. It is visible when we ask the patient to just extend the elbows, and with the maximum extension of the elbow, there is roughly 5 to 10 degrees of hyperextension which is taking place. So all this cafe au lait spots, laxity of the joints, I think have to be collected together to think of the possibility in the diagnosis and also to plan the future treatment and prognosis to the parents.
The deformity has been appreciated while inspecting. Now the magnitude of the deformity can be measured by marking the tip of the medial malleoli on either side, and while the patient is standing and he is able to hold the paper right between the two condyles, the medial condyle brought in apposition with each other so that the deformity can be well measured in the intermalleolar distance. The tape is held against the most prominent part of the medial malleoli on either side, and this shows about 13 centimeters of intermalleolar distance. So any distance which is at this age is more than 10 centimeter is diagnostic of a genu valgum.
Though the classical method of quantification of the genu valgum deformity is an intermalleolar distance measurement, which has already been demonstrated to you, but there are other methods, and one of them is by using the plumb line. So the methodology of using a plumb line is dependent on first marking the level of the anterior superior iliac spine, which I have already done for the sake of convenience. Thereafter, one needs to hold the plumb line vertically from this level, and normally the plumb line should fall at the level of the level of the medial malleolus. But if it is falling medial to the medial malleolus, this tells you that the patient has a genu valgum deformity. The prerequisite for this is the knee should be in extension. If you notice, this patient has brought the knee in flexion and the deformity appears to be minimal. इसको सीधा कर लीजिए, सीधा कर लो बेटा, घुटना सीधा करो, पीछे करो, हाँ शाबाश. So the knee should be held in extension, and this clearly tells you that there is a genu valgum deformity because the plumb line is falling medial to the level of the medial malleolus in the vertical direction. You can also quantify because there is a likelihood that the left side deformity is more than the right side, so you can take the measurement from the plumb line to the medial malleolus to further quantify the extent of the deformity on each side. The third method of measurement is using a goniometer. Again, the knee should be in extension. घुटना सीधा कर लो बेटा, घुटना सीधा कर लो. And this is basically quantifying the tibiofemoral angle. So you can draw a line. You can draw a line which would roughly be the thigh axis, and then the leg axis, and then you can place your goniometer to sort of take a measurement directly from the goniometer, and this angle can be compared on both the sides. So these are the three methods of quantification of the deformity, genu valgum, and they preferably should be measured in the weight bearing position with the knee in extension, with the knee touching just slightly to each other. One of the prerequisites for further delineation of the level of the deformity, whether it is in the femoral or in the tibial component, is that the patella on both the sides should be facing preferably the ceiling. So you can instruct the child to hold the knee in a position to facilitate patella facing the ceiling. Here it is quite obvious that there is a valgoid deformity when the knee is in extension, and now when you flex the knee to beyond 90 or to 90 degrees, it appears that the deformity has disappeared. The same is happening on the